Hi, y'all. Welcome. It's Winning Teams Thursday. I'm excited to be here with you. As you come in, say hello. Tell me where you're joining from. You can put any questions that you want into the comments. I will be watching for those or come back and answer them at the end. But let's dive in. So, today's topic, we're talking all about how we can stop a toxic culture from spreading in your organization. So we know that if you're not intentional about the culture that you're building and the culture that you're allowing to exist in your organization, that at the end of the day, that has an effect on your bottom line. Hi, y'all. As you come in, say good morning. Tell me where you're joining me from. So I'm going to talk to you about what we do to help lawyers and their teams to be more powerful in and out of the courtroom, and how we work with people to really create the space for engaging cultures and engaging and high performing teams. So what do we mean by looking at how do we do this? And the secret to engaged teams really is about the leadership and how you are tapping into the people that you are working in. Hello, everybody. So engaged employees are looking forward to going to work every day. And I want you to, if I describe this, I want you to think about, is this your team? Is this with the people that are in your space? Are they showing up like this? So engaged employees really, they're excited to be about work. They're looking forward to going to work. They really reinforce your values. They are looking for ways to optimize their performance. They are tied into your organization's initiatives and strategies that are important to you, that are helping you to meet the goals that you have for your organization, for your clients. Disengaged employees do the bare minimum. These are the ones that show up and they do what is the minimum that's expected for them to keep their jobs. They sometimes underperform by missing deadlines. At the end of the day, what they're doing, because it's just the bare minimum, it is affecting your bottom line. And usually you're going to suffer an increase in turnover rates and low job satisfaction. When we have engaged employees, we know that it affects several critical aspects of the business. So productivity, if they're engaged or not engaged, it affects productivity, it affects work quality, your profitability, and the talent retention. So that means affecting whether or not you are having a large turnover. So these factors really tie into the growth and expansion of your firm. And they're all tied to employee satisfaction and wellness, your leadership, your communication, and all of that impacts what's happening with your clients. So how do we measure employee engagement? What we really want, and how can we be committed to it? We really want to think about the ways that you can tap into this more intentionally, because when we are actually looking at being very engaged with employees and measuring that level of engagement, then we know that it affects all levels of the business. Right. So to measure the levels of emotional participation from your employees, you want to look at some different metrics. How satisfied are they in their job? How often do they feel recognized and significant for the work that they do? Are you giving that kind of feedback? Or are you a leader who's giving feedback only when it's negative? That is a real morale killer. And it is something that will really make people not satisfied in the work that they're doing. Research has shown us that for high performing teams, we really need to be giving feedback and recognition on a consistent, regular basis that gives positive and not just constructive negative feedback. You want to be looking at how do they feel about their relationships with their coworkers and their management. What do they feel like that they have good leadership and management? Are they happy and well? So we know in the legal field that there is high levels of stress. And it's very important if you want to have a high performing team that you're doing something that help your employees, your team members to deal with the levels of stress and anxiety that they have. So the way that you can really tap into this, there's several different ways. And I want you to think about if you're doing this. And if you have some resistance to the ways that I'm going to discuss with you, I want you to know that there are some amazing tools that you can use that will help you to consistently, as a leader, to show up and easily engage with your team members like this. So the first is one-on-one interviews. This is an excellent a way to collect feedback in a private, safe, professional way. So managers on your team, HR personnel can gather valuable information about your team members' attitude towards their responsibility, their workplace relationships, and the overall company culture. So you want to try to conduct these one-on-one in person, or at least if you're doing if you're a virtual team or you're a hybrid, then at least it's face-to-face, right? Face-to-face on Zoom or whatever tool that you use for that. So aside from onboarding and exit interviews, it's really important to build in regular feedback sessions with direct reports. So a best practice is that these are happening on a weekly basis, that they're having some kind of touch point with a manager that is allowing them that there's a check-in. So in these meetings, the team member, the one that is working, your direct report is working with you, is the one that's doing most of the talking, not you as the leader. This helps to, you really want to try to structure this like an informal conversation that allows them to open up. You should ask open-ended questions and actively listen. This makes it where the employee really feels engaged, supported, understood. It helps to decrease so many things that happen that contribute to turnover. The next thing that you can do, so these one-on-one interviews are happening between managers and direct reports. The next thing you can do is engagement surveys. We use these all the time with teams. These are a way to check the pulse of what's happening in the workplace. You can assess factors like the quality of communication, the quality of relationships, the workload distribution, the confidence that they have in your firm's goals. You can ask them anything that has to do with that really helps you to measure and act on engagement. We use an amazing tool called Predictive Index with our teams that allows us to do these surveys, but also it allows us to very easily build in consistent one-on-ones and to consistently give feedback that is positive and constructive. So if you want to know more about that, you just put #teams. Be happy to reach out to you about it. It's a magic tool. It's amazing what it does in helping to make all this very easy to do from a leader and management standpoint. But these engagement surveys are really meant we can customize questions that will address the feelings of disengagement. And then that allows you to discuss the results with your team, to create an action plan to improve engagement and to foster a really healthy, trusting, and productive culture. It's important to conduct these surveys at regular intervals and to make them a part of your larger engagement strategy. So it's not just one-on-ones, not just engagement surveys. This is an overall strategy that we're talking about. Goal setting and improvement should be ongoing so that employees don't feel like these surveys are merely a formality. So when they need to feel like when they participate, their voice counts, and they're more likely to be invested in their work when you do these. So don't do a survey and then don't follow up with something to the team about it, is what I'm saying. That's a big mistake that organizations make. They send out these surveys, the leaders get the results, and then there's nothing that's ever done with those. We know that engagement in workplaces, research shows us that's really defined in 3 major types of employee engagement. And these types are differentiated by the level of commitment and they consist of actively engaged, neutral, and actively disengaged and workers. So we're going to talk a little bit about those. So actively engaged workers, these are ones that I talked to you about in the beginning, and I was asking you, is this what your team is like? Are these the people that show up? They're committed. They're really invested in where your firm is going. So the actively engaged are, what we really want in our team. So if they're actively engaged, they're very enthusiastic, they're energized in their role, they're motivated to find solutions. They're the ones that are really searching for it. They enjoy finding a way out of a challenging situation, and their positivity usually shines in their work and with their relationships. They're often the motivators to other staff members, and you'll see them willing and really wanting to share their knowledge and taking an active role when you're doing things that are about team building and bringing the culture into a stronger place. So this group, often these actively engaged employees, they often form strong bonds with their coworkers and their managers, and they're passionate about mentoring new people. So actively engaged staff are the ones that we say they're the ones that go the extra mile. They go above and beyond, doing their best to see that things are completed. And they will be the ones that really share the core values of your organization, and they're consistently working towards helping you meet your mission. This is what we're trying for, right? And what I'm telling you is, when we're talking about the one-on-ones and the engagement surveys, this is how you're starting to take the pulse of where are your employees? Are they actively engaged? Are they ones that are actively disengaged? So disengaged employees are the opposite end of the spectrum of what we just described. When it comes to shared values, workplace relationships, and attitudes towards work, they're totally opposite. They're usually unhappy in their current position, or they may be really overwhelmed by the expectations that they have in their role. When faced with challenges, they easily experience burnout, which can lead to a lot of absenteeism, which ultimately leads to turnover. It can be difficult for these employees to really find meaningful workplace relationships because they oftentimes have a negative outlook on what's happening in work and in their role. They tend to do the bare minimum that they need to get a paycheck. And as a result, they have no desire to stick around really for long term, right? So their career path is probably somewhere else. But worst of all, the behavior and underperformance of disengaged staff can hinder team dynamics and reduce overall productivity. If you allow for these team members to exist, you are hurting your good people. You are hurting the entire team. One person can throw a wrench in all of it and make a huge difference to your bottom line. And then we have this area. So the 3 areas of engagement: actively engaged, actively disengaged, and then we have these neutral employees. And neutral employees, they're most common in the workplace. They do their jobs and they're motivated only by the paycheck. They feel no connection to the company at all and will not spend extra time or effort unless there's some perks or benefits in return. So different than being actively disengaged, which is doing the bare minimum. They will do what they need to do to get their job done, but they're not really invested, right? This is largest group of workers is the most likely to be influenced. So you can change this group. Actively disengaged, they shouldn't live in your team. The neutral employees, if you improve your leadership and management, you can shift them. Okay. So they're the ones that can be influenced by engagement initiatives. You can increase their buy-in and align them with the overall mission and the values that will help them to boost their level of engagement. They can become actively engaged employees if you're taking the right steps in leadership and management. So you want to think about it right now. A really good exercise for you to do would be to look at your team members and put them in those 3 categories. Who lives in the actively engaged? Who lives in the actively disengaged? And I can tell you that when I'm coaching teams, The actively disengaged are very well known. And the reason why we leaders usually keep them in place, it's the hassle of letting them go, of finding someone new, the time and energy that takes. And it's killing you if you have these living on your team. It's really easy to spot those. And they're ones that you'll find that their team members are find it very hard to deal with them. It brings your whole team down. So think about what category. Do they fall in actively engaged? Do they fall into actively disengaged? And do they fall in the neutral? The neutral are the ones that you can really work on helping to have the ability to improve. So when it's possible, you want to make objective use of measurements like key performance indicators to gauge the on-job success. So what we need to be doing, besides doing the one-on-ones and doing engagement surveys, we need to have really active communication. Performance reviews should not be done once a year. If you are waiting until the end of the year to say, oh, it was a good year, here's what do you want to do next year? That is not helpful. If you really want to have actively engaged employees, you should be doing regular performance reviews at least once a quarter that are formalized, that are concretized in some way, that are tracked. KPIs and goals, not verbal, just verbal conversations, having a verbal conversation and performance review, but also having where you're actually writing about this and recording it so that the team member knows what they could do. And you can also gauge where everybody is. So the best practices for employee engagement is it's about all levels of the organization, and really participating to try to promote a healthy and high-performing culture. So regular communication with your employees, regular conversations with staff are critical for creating an engaged workforce. Without a communication plan in place, it's difficult to gauge and improve worker satisfaction and to collect the feedback that you need and to establish trusting relationships. So communication should go both ways. There's lots of different ways that we can do this. Let me see if I have these listed out. There's lots of, no. So the different ways that we could really look at doing this, the one-on-one meetings, the team and departmental meetings that you should be doing, onboarding interviews, very important, exit interviews, very important, surveys, polls, questionnaires done on a regular basis, having an open door policy about communication. If all of your communication, if you are a hybrid team or a virtual team, or even if you're in person and most of your communication is happening through email or Slack or Teams or Teamwork or whatever you're using to communicate, if that's the main mode of your communication, you have a problem. You have to build in where there is some FaceTime with people to build trusting relationships and to build open communication. So we want to look at also the next key thing in helping with engagement is constructive feedback. It's important for leaders and managers to understand why their workers are invested in their work and what obstacles they're facing. So feedback plays a vital role in this process. You want to gather feedback regularly through a mixture of different ways. So through meetings, interviews, surveys, performance reviews, these are all ways that we can get feedback from our team members, but also that we can give feedback. Really want to build in a plan so that when you get this feedback, that you are creating a plan to address the areas of disengagement. Creating this plan is the first step. Only by setting goals and following up on the progress that's made on a regular basis will you actually start to see the results. So we can't have a meeting or send a survey and then say we're going to make a plan and there's a plan, but then we don't have a way to measure. Are we actually following through and getting the results that we want? And you might be thinking, good gosh, Lexley, that's a lot to ask. I've got a law firm to run, or I need to practice law. If you want that to be better and productivity to be better, and which is affecting your bottom line, It's really important to build this in. And there are tools to do this. We have a system and a way of doing this with teams that makes it very easy to build in, where you're having active communication, constructive feedback, and really taking care of your employees, and building this kind of culture where employees are really engaged. It makes a huge difference. So you want to be taking their pulse all the time. This is not, just at a performance review. It's not just at the end of the year. You want to be celebrating the things that they're getting right, not focusing just on the things that are wrong. Should be solution focused on challenges, but celebrating achievement through recognition programs that can motivate the entire workforce. And we do that in the program that we use. It's very, very easy to celebrate your team members. And you want to really lead by example. um, Leading well-being. So how can you help your team members as a leader, and really leaning into well-being is important for engagement. If you really want to have those employees that are the top-notch ones, we have to be taking care of them, and we need to promote wellness programs that could improve. They're showing that research shows that if you really tap into wellness programs, that you can improve your employee intention by as much as 50%. And one of those strategies, it could be things from helping them to invest in ergonomic, office equipment, to helping with, what is going on with stress and anxiety, and building in resources for them to help with that. With all of our teams, we provide a whole slew of resources that are active practices to help with stress and anxiety, sleep, all of these kind of things. So it's really, leading with that is very, very important for employee engagement and for retention. You want to do on-the-spot recognition. Employee recognition is a powerful tool for eliciting positive emotions, right? And positive emotions, when we're in a more positive state, then we do better work. We have less mistakes that happen. So recognizing on the spot. We're so quick to recognize on the spot when something is wrong. I'm asking you to recognize on the spot when something is going well. So when something is completed successfully, we need to managers really need to acknowledge the staff's efforts. Praise and incentive go a long way if it's provided consistently. When you're providing recognition, you want to keep in mind how your employees prefer to receive it. So knowing some people really like to get public recognition. Some people are not wired for that, and they really like to receive it in a more private way. If there's the ones that we know are wired for high extroversion, they could really enjoy the publicly for the whole company to see. If they have a lower extroversion drive, it might be a private message in an email or Slack, or in our system, you can send private recognition and feedback to someone, or you can make it public very easily. You just want to make sure that you're recognizing them regularly and sincerely for accomplishments. And then the next thing that's very key is to maintain transparency. Engagement is built on trust and transparency. Keeping employees in the dark about your company's strategic direction or the work that's being done in other departments is really a breeding ground for rumors, misinformation, and distrust. If employees are finding out that things are happening in your firm that are significant through, not a official open way that's coming from leadership, but instead is coming from rumors or talking. Did you hear that this is going to happen, or this is going to happen, or this person's switching positions, or that kind of thing, and it's happening in secret? That's a way to really create some toxicity and distrust in your employees. You want to make sure that organizational change, large projects, recognitions, awards, even hardships are openly discussed with staff at all levels, not keeping them in the dark where they're getting the information by rumors and misinformation. So holding back crucial information really prevents them from doing their jobs of embracing change, whether it's positive or negative. It's really important that you have more open and think about that. Sometimes we're afraid when we're having a challenge about sharing that, but you actually could do it in a positive way that puts everybody in solution focus, that your team may actually help you come up with solutions that you didn't realize were even available. Um, so really, when you have those kind of changes going on, or when things are moving, we want to make sure that we are openly having formal communication, not things that are being communicated and whispered about. It's very, very important. All right. So I've given you a lot to think about with are you doing these kind of things with your team? If you feel like you have actively disengaged, or you have a lot of neutral team members, and you know that you could have a better culture, more high performing team members, reach out to me. This is what we do. We love it. We're passionate about it. We really want to help you to build a space where you're attracting the best talent that's coming in to work with you, that you're designing high performing teams, that you're inspiring your team members, that you're measuring engagement, that you are really taking advantage of all of the things that are out there that help you to be all you're really focused on creating. We have the resources, the ongoing support to help organizations of all shapes and sizes really optimizing performance. This is what we're about. We're about the teams. And so hashtag winning teams. If you want to know more, put hashtag winning teams into the comments. We'll reach out to you. I'd love to know what's going on in your team, and what you think you're challenged with, and help you to see some ways to grow and improve. All right. Thanks, y'all. I will see you Monday for Mindset Monday.